Hey, my name is James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about my expectations for house prices in 2024. You see, a lot of the content that we share on this channel is from various different news sources. For example, every month we share what Rightmove thinks is going on with the market, Nationwide, Halifax, the Office of National Statistics, and various other sources like that. But I want to tell you what I feel is going to happen to house prices this year, when lots of places were saying that the market was going to crash big time last year, but it didn't happen. So what can we expect by the end of this calendar year? I can't really go much further out than that because no one has a crystal ball. We don't know whether it will be a new wars or the economy will be in a huge recession or various things like that. So let's talk about 2024. But before we jump into this, as always, if you haven't done, do subscribe to the channel over there and hit the bell notification. We've had a great weekend. We hit 24,000 subscribers. We hit 3 million views on the channel as well. So do subscribe. And while you're here, smash like, tickle like, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. That's why we got 3 million views, because of people like you pressing that like button. So, house prices, a topic of debate. My partner Katie, her mum had her 80th birthday this weekend, and we took a cruise on the Thames with her family, and it was a conversation that came up from various different people, particularly people asking me, where do I feel house prices will end up this year? So let's look at some factors and how they're going to impact house prices. And then I'll give you what I think will happen with houses. So I think one of the biggest factors in house prices this year is interest rates. Now, I believe when the rates drop, I don't think you're going to get massive drops from your mortgage rate. So what I mean by that is when the Bank of England finally dropped the interest rates, I don't think the mortgage rates are going to get massively cheaper. I think about 1/4 or 0.5%. But here's what I do think that will trigger and make happen in the market. I know from speaking to tons of estate agents every month and investors and people like you on the channel, there are a number of people just with a wait and see approach. They're just sitting out to see what happens in the market. That happened last year. Transaction volume was down massively. The reason for that is people want to try and time the bottom of a market. That's very hard to do, but they want to target when the house prices might be at the lowest in order to buy. No one wants to buy a 100 grand house that's worth 80 grand a year later. And so people's belief is that when the rates drop, that near then or thereabouts, we might hit the bottom of the house price market. Now, that might not be true, but that's what a lot of people's expectations is. And I think when rates do drop, that you'll see an influx of buyers for a few months. The people that were sitting on the edge, so I think you'll get 2 or 3 months that will be fairly busy in the property market. And I think rates are going to have a big impact on that. Next one is inflation, right? So the inflation has been really sticky. It's really boring that we have to keep talking about inflation, but it is what it is, right? So UK inflation is at 2.3%. It's close to target. It's expected to get even closer to target with the May data that we get this month in June. And I think that that's right. I think we can see from the 12-month rolling that last year's May data was high. That's going to drop off the 12-month rolling. So as long as we don't get a high rating for May this month, then we're going to improve, right? So we might get below that 2.3% target. But there's still a lot of volatility in the world. Energy prices are expected to creep up at the end of this year. Now, if that happens, then inflation could come back. And the Bank of England has been saying that repeatedly. I think inflation will drop below target in the summer, but it could come back in the winter. Now, if that happens, then that's going to impact house prices. It's going to impact interest rates. It's mean they're going to go down at a much slower pace. And so that means that house prices potentially could be quite rocky. But Let's just say on the other side of things that inflation dropped quicker and it didn't come back and we got major cuts in interest rates. That could revitalise the property market temporarily, similar to the interest rate stuff. Next is demand. Now, we live on a little island and we don't have enough houses. But there isn't lots of buyers at the moment, right? So we don't have lots of people desperate to buy a property, but likewise, we don't have lots of people desperate to sell a property. Right now, demand is matching on both sides. But if that changes, if suddenly loads of buyers come in, sellers even come into the market because they can't afford interest rates, or the Section 24 tax on landlords is killing them, or Labour come into power and put lots of more odious laws onto landlords that make them leave, and then suddenly there's an influx of sellers, that potentially could cause problems. And if that happened, then the market could drop quickly. So that's interesting to talk about that. So that's a consideration here when we talk about where house prices are going up. Next, population. So the UK population is likely to explode over the next 3 years. We currently have 67 million of us on this tiny little island, and that's in 2024. By 2026, which is not long, we're expected to have 70 million people, 3 million extra people in the UK. Now, that's for various reasons. One, life expectancy. People are living longer. That's good. Next is immigration. So we've got lots of people. We've got hundreds of thousands of people coming into the country each and every year. I'm not going to talk about the feelings on that. I know that can be very political. So if you are going to comment on that, just keep it polite in the comments, please. But yeah, immigration will grow the population as well. Now, look, the country's growing regardless of whether we have immigration or not. The problem here is that we just don't build enough houses. We needed to build 300,000 houses per year. We don't do that. We're not going to hit that target. It's unlikely we're going to hit that target anytime soon, even probably before 2030. So there is going to be a severe lack of housing, and it's going to get worse over the next few years. Now, for house prices, that's likely to be positive, as in it's likely to push them up. Negative if you want to buy a cheaper property. So that is something to consider as well. And the last one I want to talk about before I give you where I think house prices are going to go is materials have gone up. That means new build properties are more expensive to build. Labour is more expensive for those properties as well. And so they are going to not drop prices on new build property significantly. What would more likely happen is they would pause building. If the market did start crashing, they would pause new projects, because if they did that, that means that they could get a higher premium for the projects that they had left. And that is a key consideration here as well. It's very important to understand that building materials, cost of wages, all these things are a big factor in building properties, and they're not going to build at a loss. They would just simply stop projects. So all of these things factored in. Right now, on a 12-month annual basis, we are up 1%. I don't think it's going to be so rosy. I think we are going to be down by the end of this year, but not as bad as people might think. I think that we will be down just under 0.5%. I think we're going to see a slowdown in the market now. And the reasons for that are things like the election. So a lot of people are just pausing making decisions because of the general election. So that puts transactions behind. Maybe some sellers will cut prices because they're not getting viewings because of that. I think that people will want to wait and see what happens with the new government. I think if there's any delay in any of these things, like interest rate cuts, like inflation going down, that will delay people's buying decisions as well. And all of these things factored in, I don't think we're going to have a crash this year. I think we're going to have a drop of around 0.5%. That is on average house prices. Now, bigger properties will probably drop more, whereas smaller properties where people downsize will probably increase. That's what I think will happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do smash like. It's not often I share opinion I'm often sharing news, so I'd love to know what you think on that. Do smash like, do subscribe, go and check out some more content on my channel, including this video right here.